Hello and welcome to the psychology courses at UCLan Burnley talk. It's nice to see you interacting with us here. I'm Dr. Kat Cartmell. I am the course leader for all of the courses at UCLan Burnley. Currently we are running the BSc Honours in Psychology, which is a single honours psychology, so it covers all of the core areas of psychology. We are running the BSc Honours Forensic Psychology new this September, and we are running the BSc Honours Psychology, Psychotherapy and Counselling course. So you've got three options that you could look at going across these. There's my contact details if you do want to get in contact with me, kcartmell4@uclan.ac.uk. Please do send me an email, I really don't mind. If you've got a question, I'd rather you ask it. If you want to ring me, that's my contact number there, and you can get through any time. So you're interested in psychology because the three courses that we offer, as you can see, psychology is the underpinning foundation of those three courses. So what is it that psychology really is? Are you sure that you're fully aware of what you're getting yourself in for by undertaking a psychology degree? The core areas are research methods, social psychology, developmental psychology, biopsychology, cognitive psychology, and individual differences. Now, the reason that our three degrees are based upon those core areas is because it helps to give you the graduate basis for chartership from the British Psychological Society. Mouthful. What does it mean for you as a student? Graduate basis for chartership is something that people look for when you want to apply on the next stages of your career if you wanted to go into core areas of psychology. So let's say you wanted to be a forensic psychologist or a clinical psychologist and you wanted to access the next course on, they would be looking to see if you've got GBC, that graduate basis for chartership. I will talk more about this later because there's a slide later on for it, but it is something that's very, very important for a student to think about if core areas of psychology are kind of their career destinations. What do we have as options at UCLan Burnley? We look around year 3 to kind of give you a little bit more freedom to maybe specialise in more areas. So we have things like forensic psychology, educational psychology, clinical psychology and counselling psychology or counselling options available so that you can kind of specialise a little bit more and choose your specialism as your understanding of psychology has developed from years 1 and year 2. Okay, so let's have a look at BSc Honours Psychology course and what that involves module-wise. Modules are really just little units of material that you need to look at and learn from. So if we look at year 1, we have some core modules there. Core modules means that you have to take them, it's not an option. And if you look down that list, you'll see that they actually represent those core areas that I keep talking about. So you've got methods and practice of psychological inquiry, which is teaching you how to do research and research methods. We've got introduction to developmental and social psychology, introduction to psychobiology and cognition, and then we have a lovely module called current topics in psychology. The current topics in psychology kind of lets you see the range that psychology has. So it includes looking at different areas and different disciplines within psychology. So for example, it looks at forensic psychology, it looks at clinical psychology, it looks at cyber psychology, sports psychology. So as a student, hopefully by the end of year 1, you've got a better idea of where you could go within psychology or where you kind of feel you fit. What you'll see in the next box below is those option modules that you have in year 1. You choose 2 from those 3 that are available. So we have an introduction to counselling skills and introduction to counselling and counselling skills, which develops your ability to communicate on a one-to-one basis or in small groups, and introduction to CBT, which is introduction to cognitive behavioural therapy, which allows you to help to understand people's thoughts processes and how they apply it to their behaviour. And then we have a volunteering and a community action module, which allows you to go out in the community and develop a project within that community. what you'll notice is those three option modules are really focused around your communication. Because at UCLan Burnley, we're really adamant that as a psychologist, communication is really important. We need to be able to communicate effectively with patients, maybe with service users, with clients, depending on where we go within psychology. So in year one, we give you those options to be able to start building those communication skills that you've got ready for year two and year three, where we develop them again. In year two, you'll see that they're all core modules, and that's because they cover the core aspect of the BPS curriculum that you need to study to be able to be accredited with that GBC, that graduate basis of chartership again. So you'll see that there are two research modules in year two. So one is research modules 1 and research modules 2. And for those of you that have done A-levels or BTEC or Access before, you'll have an understanding that in research there are kind of two ways of collecting data. One is a quantitative way, which is more around numbers and numerical data, and one is a qualitative way, which is more around words and the thoughts and feelings of individuals. But dividing it into two modules like that allows you then to develop a full range of understanding research and how to collect that data ready for year three when you move on to your dissertation. Next down the list, you'll see social and developmental and cognitive and physiological psychology, which is that biopsychology from year one. So we're kind of going back over that data, but not in the sense that we're redoing the stuff that you did in year one. We're taking you up another notch. We're taking you up another level, so you've got a deeper understanding of those disciplines within psychology. And then we have something called individual differences, which covers topics like emotions and motivation, and helping you to understand where some people can be really motivated to do something, but they might lack motivation to be able to do something else. And it also looks at things like intelligence and personality. Why are some people so stubborn in some areas? Why are some people able to have a really good IQ? And why does it differ within families if they're being raised in the same kind of way? So it's a very interesting module to have a look at. And the last two on that list you'll see are forensic psychology and clinical psychology. And we offer those in year two so that you've got a good grounding in the core areas that tend to be the ones that students are wanting to look at within psychology. So in year three, you'll notice there's only one core module, and that is your psychology project, which is your kind of dissertation area, and it's worth 2 modules. So it's quite a big piece of work that you undertake in year three, but we've obviously supported you to do that in years 1 and year 2 by giving you that research and practice around designing experiments and gathering data and analysing it. And then in course in year 3 you get assigned a supervisor who is right by your side as you're going along, helping you to make those decisions and produce that dissertation. What we have then are 4 options that you can choose from, which allows you to kind of have a look at different areas that you might want to focus on. So you've got the psychology placement module, which is a lovely module for those of you that are maybe working or have work experience, or who wants to go out and get a work placement. And it allows you to bring in the knowledge and the theory and the skills that you've learned from year 1 and year 2 and apply it to that work and understanding of how people behave within the work experience environment. And then we have another module, which is a new module that we've just designed called Psychology in Action, which allows you to maybe pick an area that you wanted to look at. So it might be different from your dissertation. It's just a smaller area that you thought over the last couple of years, I'm really interested in that. And it allows you to take that idea and develop a project around it with a supervisor and design some kind of analysis of that area. So you're kind of writing up that area and understanding the research that's around it and getting a deeper understanding of that topic that you've picked. Applying psychology to the educational setting is then another option. So this allows you to look at psychology in education essentially. So for things like creativity and music and how that applies within the educational setting. It helps understand how learning happens and how we actually go about teaching children. We have the violent and sexual offending module, which is a forensic psychology option. And then we have the application of clinical psychology, which obviously belongs to the clinical psychology options. So you can see how that forensic psychology and clinical psychology are being developed from years 2 and year 3 onwards. So how does the BSc Honours Forensic Psychology course differ from the Single Honours Psychology course? If you have a look at some of the modules, you'll see actually they're quite similar, especially in years 1 and 2. We're still covering that core aspect of psychology in years 1 and 2. And we're giving you those options of those communication skills and developing them in year 1. What you will see, the biggest difference is obviously happens within year 3, where we really focus down on forensic psychology. So the project that you have is within forensic psychology, so you would be underneath our forensic psychologists and being helped to develop that project by them. It's worth 2 modules, remember, so that's 2 of your compulsory ones, and then you've got another 2 compulsory ones, which are crime impacts and consequences, and the violent and sexual offending, which is optional on the Single Honours Psychology, is core on yours to give you that really good flavour within forensic psychology. So what you're left with then is the ability to choose 2 of the option modules that I've already talked about. So you've got the psychology placement module, you've got the psychology in action, the applying psychology to educational settings, and then the clinical psychology option. So how does that differ from our psychology, psychotherapy and counselling course? Well, as you can see, there's less options on this course, but that's because we've actually used the options and replaced it with the counselling and psychotherapy modules that you want to make up that degree for you. So in year 1, you've got all of the core areas of psychology that you're covering, and then the introduction to counselling and counselling skills and the introduction to CBT are core areas, so it's not an option. In year 2, you do all of the core areas again, like the other courses, so the research method, social and developmental psychology, the cognitive and physiological, and the individual differences, because remember they're the core areas of psychology that allows you to have the BPS accreditation for this degree. And then you do 2 counselling options, core modules, which are intermediate counselling skills in practice and CBT. So what you'll see is there the next level up from what you've done in year 1. So we take your counselling and counselling skills and we increase them up into year 2, and we take your CBT skills and we increase them up again into year 2. Looking at year 3, you have more core modules again, so you've got your psychology project, which is worth 2 modules, and then we put on the clinical psychology module as a core area to try and bring your counselling and psychotherapy and psychology together. And then we have 2 counselling modules, which is enhancing counselling skills and personal development, and then an actual personal development module that you would take alongside that. That leaves you 1 option module, which you can take from the psychology placement module, the psychology in action, the applying psychology in educational settings, or the violent and sexual offending. Okay, so we've looked at the 3 core courses that we offer, and in each of those we have the core areas of psychology that I keep mentioning. So what do these include? So you've got your research methods, which is an absolute vital foundation part of psychology. As you imagine, psychology is a science, so it involves science, but it's also a large part of it is maths, which is why we do ask students to have GCSE maths to be able to get onto the course. There's lots of support if you don't feel like your maths is your best subject, so please don't worry. But it does become an aspect of research methods, because what we need you to be able to do is learn how to design research, and be able to carry out your own experiments, because that is what psychology is all about. We take you gently in year one, where we give you some experiments to run and collect data with, and we help and guide you along to write that up into experimental papers. In year two, you do some more labs, which we kind of get you to do a little bit more independently than we did in year one, so that you're learning that independence in writing your own research and understanding it and designing it. And then in year three, you obviously then design and carry out your dissertation, which is all about research methods. So you're designing that research and carrying it out, analysing that data and writing up that research paper, with support from your supervisor, of course. So another core area is social psychology. So it looks at different things. I mean, these are just a few of the ones that it looks at. So you've got personal relationships. Why do we make them and why do we break them? Interesting fact, this is one of the areas that actually got me interested in psychology. My parents, I absolutely adore them, and they got married and then they got divorced. And then they got married, and then they got divorced. They loved each other but couldn't live together. So what is it about personal relationships that are so interesting to us? Why do we make them and why do we break them? Why can we have people that can't live together? We look at social groups and why we feel that we need to be a part of them, or why we choose to be apart from them. We look at attitudes. Where do they come from? Where do they stem from? Is it really just something that you learn from your parents, or is it something that you learn from your social experiences? Conformity. Why do we do things that we know we don't want to do, and yet we feel like we have to do them? And then, of course, that really interesting topic of what do we find attractive about others? What is it that attracts you to a partner or a potential mate? What aspects of it? So another core area is developmental psychology. So attachments. Why do we make them? Why is it that a baby is born to love their parents? And why do parents love their children? What is it that they get from that relationship that develops? Another one is fear of growing old. Do we all have it? Do some people not have it? Is it something that we develop because we're told that we should fear growing old? We look at how children learn to learn. How is it that they can suddenly be crawling around on the floor and then in a couple of months be walking and starting to talk? How do they start to talk? How do they start with those words that come out and make sense to us? Does the babbling help? We look at interesting things like the midlife crisis. Do they exist? Do we have any kind of indications that someone might be going through them? So lots of interesting things. Another area is cognitive psychology. It can be a little bit more difficult for a student, this area, because cognitive psychology is the way that we think. So it's something that we can't see, we can't touch, we can't feel it, because it really is a personal point of a person, an internal aspect. But some of the topics that we look at are autism spectrum disorders, dyslexia, reading. I mean, how do you learn to read? How does an individual person learn that the letters on this screen right now are a word? And what does that word mean? How does that word mean something to you, but it could mean something different to somebody else? We look at things like attention bias, problem solving, and of course language development. And then the other core area is that biopsychology, physiological psychology, which is the very, very sciencey part of psychology. It is a science altogether, but this feels more sciencey to some students. So it looks at the core areas of the human brain and obviously the rest of the body that is attached and kind of functions as part of the brain. So it looks at different sections of the brain and what they do. Biological contributing factors of mental health illnesses. So is it just your brain? Is it part of your body? Is it your mood? Can we treat it with drugs, or does counselling help? We look at things like eating disorders. We look at things like memory. What happens when our memory fails and why? Can it be fixed? And then, of course, those really interesting ones, which always get students going, are the visual system and illusion. So, for example, what do you see there? Do you see the children, or do you see the skull first? Can you count how many legs the elephant has? Do the lines look horizontal to you, or do they slope? What do you see first? Do you see the chalice, or do you see the two people's faces? And then lastly, what do you see first? The duck or the rabbit? Visual illusions are fascinating, and we go into more detail in that biopsychology aspect of psychology. So what type of sessions did you get at UCLan Burnley? As I said before, we're small and friendly, so we have the usual kind of things that you would find at a normal university in that sense. So we have lectures, seminars and workshops, but ours are smaller in the sense that the lectures are not always what you would typically think of a lecture theatre filled with 300 students and one lecturer at the front giving lots of information. Our lectures are in smaller rooms with smaller groups of students, which allows us to have some really good discussions. So it gives you as a student a chance to actually ask a question. So if I'm rabbiting on and I'm explaining something and you're just not quite getting it, you can just ask us questions and we can stop, we can kind of group together as a group and we can answer that question and really work it out so that you don't leave that session not knowing something. Seminars and workshops are organised to be smaller group works, but it's more about developing your independence. So as the lecturer, we would come in and we would guide you on a topic and give you some information to help you learn about it, but it's really about you working with that material and developing your own understanding of it. We have computer sessions because we work with a program called SPSS, which is Statistical Packages for Social Sciences. But it's something that we use that helps us to analyse data. So when I was talking about those research methods, SPSS is something that we work with that allows us to do the analysis of it. So when I was saying to you that if you're not brilliant at maths, SPSS is wonderful because it actually helps to work out the maths for you. But we need to teach you how to use that program and how to understand the data that it's giving you back so that you understand the numbers and what they mean. We have lab work. I mentioned earlier that in year 1 we do 4 experiments. So in year 1 you have an opportunity to take part in 4 tasks throughout the year. In year 2 you get another 2 tasks, so another 2 labs that you would do. And then in year 3 you have your dissertation, where you would obviously need access to labs to be able to collect data and run them. We have a wonderful new psychology observation lab that we've now got at UCLan Burnley, which allows students to be able to take part in direct access to participants. So for example, in year 1 we run something called the strange situation. So for those of you that have done A-levels or Access or BTEC, you might know about that from Bowlby, where they look at how children react within a strange situation. Our psychology observation lab allows us to do that directly with children. So we bring children in and you guys get to actually access that and see that in real life rather than watching it on a video. A fabulous lab that we've now got running. And in years 2 and year 3 you have access to being able to book that lab and other rooms so that you can run your own experiments. And finally we have drop-in sessions that we run at UCLan Burnley so that you've got direct access to lecturers, again allowing you to get a more one-to-one feel with us and a much more friendlier way of being able to say, I just don't get that, Kat, help me figure this out. So we run things like SPSS workshops so that if you're struggling with understanding how to use it or what it's saying to you, we can sit down in really nice small groups and figure that out together. So that graduate basis of chartership, remember I mentioned this, it's provided by many courses now, if I'm honest, within the UK, and it gives you a graduate basis of chartership. but not all courses offer it. So please do check, if you are looking around at different universities, that the one that you're really interested in does offer it. It is essential if you're a student that wants to go on into a specific psychology related career. So for example, if you wanted to become a forensic psychologist or a clinical psychologist, you need to have the graduate basis of chartership to be able to get onto those courses and access the training and the kind of degree qualifications that you need. So our qualifications at Burnley, the psychology, psychotherapy and counselling and the single honest psychology have that accreditation in place for you, so that when you graduate you will be given graduate basis of chartership. So it's setting you up straight away for the next steps that you need in that career focus. So the potential areas of psychology are, to me, they're huge. I mean, you can work with humans. Psychology involves humans, so you can really apply psychology to any area that you can think of. In that first list, we've got all the kind of core areas of psychology, so those that want to go in and be clinical psychologists, counselling psychologists, educational psychologists or forensic. They might want to become a teacher, an academic, a researcher. So they're all the kind of core areas that we would talk about in psychology. But then you've got all the other areas that psychology applies to. So things like counselling, you might want to become a qualified counsellor rather than a psychologist, counselling psychologist. You might want to work in the police or the public services. Schools, children and families, you know, you've got school access. You might not want to be a teacher, but you might want to be a learning mentor. So your psychology degree would give you access to those kind of careers. So you've got lots of areas. But let me finish with why you should study here at UCLan Burnley. Okay, absolutely love UCLan Burnley because of the feel and the atmosphere that we have with our students. We have all of the offers that are available at our Preston campus because we are UCLan. So the opportunities are the same, and we have some of the flexibilities and the facilities and the experience and the research. So let me talk you through those. So opportunities wise, we have lots of things that students can get involved in. UCLan are absolutely brilliant at giving opportunities to students and making sure that they work with them to develop skills that they might need before they graduate. So things like research, internships. So students have the opportunity to apply, especially over the summer, to be able to work with academics who are doing research and collect data, so you're gaining experience, and then maybe publish it and present it with those academics. We have international study options where you can go out and study maybe a year abroad and then come back. Flexibility wise, at UCLan Burnley, our 3 courses, you could start on any one of those in year 1 and transfer over to another in year 2. So the beauty of it is that you can choose maybe to do single honest psychology and then find that forensic psychology is actually really your area, so you can kind of jump over in year 2 and move on to forensic. Or you might start on single honest psychology and figure out that the counselling side of things is actually really interesting and you wanted to move on to psychology, psychotherapy and counselling. So there's lots of flexibility in year 1. It does become less as you grow, as you move up in years, because you're studying core areas, and we have to be careful that obviously you've got the grounding that you need. Facilities, as I mentioned, we've got our wonderful new psychology observation lab at UCLan Burnley, which allows you access to being able to develop your research skills and bring in participants and have real life experimental setups for you. For those on psychology, psychotherapy and counselling, the counselling lecturers do use that so that you've got access to it, so you can record yourself. It's fascinating when you watch yourself actually talking and seeing your body language. Even now while I'm trying to talk to you, I can see my hands flapping around. So being a student and having access to those facilities is really, really good. The experience. I'm biased because I love UCLan Burnley. I love that atmosphere. But when I've been talking to the students that have come through over the past couple of years, how they describe it is small and friendly. It's a smaller campus than what you would be used to for a normal university, but that's because that's what we want. We want the smaller campus because we want it to be friendly and accessible to the local community. So we have a nice friendly team. We have 5 lecturers at UCLan Burnley. We have a lecturer in counselling. We have 2 forensic psychologists. One is leading on the clinical psychologist because her work takes her in that direction. We have myself, who's more of a social developmental psychologist, and then we have a biological and cognitive psychologist. So we've got all of those areas for you covered, and we all are active in research, which is my next point. So we're all carrying out research as we're going. We're all looking at developing research, so there's lots of opportunities for students to help us. And trust me, we get very excited when students want to come along and get involved with that research with us. So the UCLan experience, as I said, UCLan Burnley is UCLan, so you have access to all of the experiences that are given across the campuses. So things like the Lancashire Science Festival that runs every single year by UCLan and is set up, students can get involved in that. In the School of Psychology, we have the Darwin Day lecture, which is done every year, where we bring in a prominent psychology lecturer or researcher, and they come along and they talk about their areas, and it's a lovely opportunity to meet other students and other lecturers, and it's actually really enjoyable. And then we have the international travel bursaries, so you have access to being able to apply for those and travel across. We also have campuses in Cyprus and in Greece, which are very interesting ones to have. And then we have the undergraduate research internship that I talked about, where you can actually apply to work with academics over the summer and help them develop some research, come up with some ideas and develop some research, and then hopefully help present it at conferences and help write up papers that are published. So just to sum up, UCLan Burnley, we have dedicated labs and we have staff on standby that can help you with equipment if you need it, specialist equipment. Employability is a core part of our degree. We start straight away in year 1, really getting you thinking about where you want to go with psychology, or where you think you want it to go, and we help guide you if you're a little bit unsure, so that by the end of year 3, hopefully you've got a really good idea about what your next steps would be. Guidance is available across all of UCLan, so we have support and access for student services and welfare, and we have a nice little base at UCLan Burnley for that. Research is very, very active at UCLan, especially within the School of Psychology. So we have the Preston staff and the UCLan Burnley staff that are research active in all areas of psychology. And we have some engaging research going on and some engaging research that you're part of as part of your studies, which has access to lots of different equipments, which we think obviously gives you that engaging experience as a student. And again, for me, as a biased person, it really comes down to that experience that you get at UCLan Burnley, that small but friendly experience that you can access. So it depends what you want from your degree. Our degree becomes your degree at UCLan Burnley.